Hey, welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle, where we dissect everything happening around the globe and at home that affects our Retire Early lifestyle. And so with that in mind, I've got some whoppers for you today. I've got a bunch of stuff happening. Stick around. I hope to encourage you with my videos and seeing things as they really are, and so that we can be prepared and ready to make proper decisions and to not be misled in our quest to have and to live our retire early lifestyle, which has nothing to do with retirement. We're in Mexico. We're prior homeschooling homesteaders turned world travelers pre-pandemic, and now post 2020, we're stuck in Mexico by our own design. And so why are we stuck in Mexico? We talk about that in the other videos. We're not really stuck in Mexico. We stuck ourselves in Mexico because we don't trust airlines and what they're going to do and say. And so with that in mind, I've got some whoppers for you today. But listen to this, in case you were looking for some other place to go. I know a lot of you are still doing this. Argentina, it turns out that Argentina's inflation is clocking in at 114%, just year over year. And it's on schedule to go all the way to 140% by the end of the year. And I know that I mean, if you're holding dollars and that whole conversation, you know how cheap that is. Matter of fact, it's very tempting to go there and get residency. But remember, what kind of a place does this to its own people? Remember, I've always said that when you go to a place, you're not just going to a condo on the beach. You're going to an entire city and the entire local population. And so we have to keep in mind everything that's happening. And 140% inflation, it's just insane. It sounds like chaos, and people are going to be. So on top of that, just to give you a full flavor, which isn't going to really be everything that's happening in Argentina, because this video would be way too long, it turns out that Argentina is now paying its debt to the IMF with Chinese yuans. Yes, the currency of China. And the alleged reason for doing so is because they ran out of dollars, because nobody with dollars wants to invest in Argentina. Gee, I wonder why. And yet, when you look at what they're doing with this, they have added regulations that say if the public wants to also buy yuans, they're only allowed to buy up to $200 maximum of Chinese yuans. Now, doesn't that take the cake? It's like insult to injury, you know. It's a case of oh, look at us, we're buying yuans, you should too, because we know something, and we're saying by example that you should do this, but you can only buy $200 worth. Isn't that something? And this is just par for the course for these centralized, centrally run peoples when bad actors simply take over the top spot in that top-down system. And yeah, there's an answer to that. I'll get to that in a second, though. But yeah, $200 worth to be purchased by the public. Isn't that just so? Doesn't that just smack of just central planning at its finest? First you slap people with 140% inflation, and then you say, well, you can buy this Chinese yuan, which we'll just sweep it under the rug. It's from a communist country, and they like to track, trace, and dictatorship. But yet, no matter. Just for your own good, you can only buy $200 worth. Isn't that something? Moving on, not to be outdone, the state of Georgia has gone full China I said last week they had gone full China because they were digitizing their identification. And of course, the next step in the entire global communist plan is just to start facial recognition cameras, when you land at the Atlanta airport, full China. But here's the thing. Did you guys hear about a while back ago, not that far back, how the Hong Kong people reacted to spy cameras going up? They took that wonderful technology, those portable small skill saws, electric battery operated skill saws, because these cameras were all over the parks and everywhere, and they just took those and cut the camera poles down. And I saw a video where some of these guys, and they were all acting together, they were in concert. It was just so musical and beautiful. I recommend you watch it if you can. But they took them down. We're not going to have any part in this communism. And I started saying that some of them were squirting dish soap on the camera so they wouldn't get a glimpse of anything in those cameras. So nothing of the sort happening in Georgia yet. There's always hope, but what can we do? We can hope and pray about it. In other matters, when I was walking on the beach in Salinas, I had some Americans, or were they Canadians, I don't recall, stop and ask me because they recognized me from the videos. Yes, I do get recognized. At least I used to when I was a little bit more popular and had a little bit more of a channel. But never mind, different conversation. But they stopped me on the beach and asked me what I thought about at the time, in those days, which was pre-2020, probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't know, something like that. They asked me what I thought about the current scare in the news. It's always been about scare in the news, hasn't it? About this, Zika virus. Wasn't I afraid to walk on the beach and this kind of thing? Well, I mean, it occurred to me that they were walking on the beach, but I didn't say anything. And of course, they weren't covered. Knowing a little something about how you get these viruses, and that if they come from mosquitoes like malaria, which I'll talk about the next thing, is I had a long sleeve thin shirt on, and that's what I said. I said, well, I have long sleeves on in case I get bit by any strange mosquitoes that have any kind of strange viruses. They won't be able to bite me because I got long sleeves, I got long pants, I'm covered. And also on my exposed areas, like on my wrists, my hands, and my neck, I was rubbing mint oil on my skin, and it's a deterrent to mosquitoes. And a lot of people, it's just such a simple thing that people can do. And I'm saying this because I'm going to talk a little more about these mosquitoes, but not too much. And you can also, if you can't get mint oil or these kinds of things, you can blend onions with water in a blender, lots of water, and then you can strain it, put it in a spray bottle, and spray it on your skin, and that'll keep them away too. So there's lots of natural ways to just not worry about it, not to mention just covering yourself. Of course, if it's 100 degrees, which it is, I was looking at the weather in some of the southern states, and it was like 97. And I have a friend in Arizona, they said it's already 104, and I'm just marveling, I'm not bragging, I'm just marveling that I'm here on the Baja coast, and it's probably only about 78. That's kind of nice. There are some advantages to being abroad, so don't misunderstand my channel when I tell you these things happening. I'm not trying to say it's all bad. And so there's a rumor, and I'm not sure if the rumor, how valid it is, and if it has any legs to it or not. But let's just assume that it's based on fact that some bad characters, also known as supervillains. What a name, supervillain. Back in the day when I used to read comic books when I was 9 and 10 years old, I loved reading those comic books, the supervillain comic books and the superheroes that would always show up and save the day. And where are these superheroes nowadays? So there's a rumor saying that these supervillains have unleashed these hybrid mosquitoes, lab created or something, or I don't know, maybe they're robotic, I don't know. I'm just saying this is the rumor, and they're giving people malaria. So far, only very small cases, but that the end goal is to get people to run to the supervillains to get a super injection. You knew that already, didn't you? You knew that was coming, and this is just so predictable. When does the superhero show up? And that's the whole thing. We came up as children reading these comic books and watching on TV, these kinds of shows with Superman and all these kind of things. And Hollywood has gone a step further and done movies and all this. And how many of us have gone into the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and have grown up with these supervillain, superhero? And are we expecting that to happen? Are we expecting someone else to show up and save the day? Because that's what always happened in the comic books and in the cartoons and even in the movies later. So could that be by design? Maybe this kind of information being put out as entertainment, but really with an agenda to try to get people already mentally sort of in a sleep state where subconsciously we have this, and that's why these words like supervillain, and I hesitate to use them. But anyway, moving on. If there's any doubt at all left in anybody's mind that communism just falls flat on its face every time, even this new communism with we have the internet now, right? This time around we have the internet. It'll work. We have the internet. And yes, the internet makes it super cheap to spy on people and track every single thing you say and do. But you'll want to know that the George Soros Foundation is still slashing 40% of its staff. Why am I laughing? Come on, you're not really asking that, are you? If you're asking that, put the question in the comments. Let us know what you think about George Soros Foundation slashing 40% of its staff. No, communism never has worked and never will. And we talk about communism because you notice that a lot of the things, the world view of people is a lot of times, especially in North America, described with these words ending in ism, like capitalism and communism. And this is a common thing. You never hear Jesus-ism. Doesn't exist. But hey, you never know. But before I get distracted, I wanted to add about the communism falling apart at the seams that the New York ends its Excelsior COVID-19 vaccine passport app. Yeah, when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, yeah, they're going full-blown technocratic communist, enslavement. And so I use these words like communism because it properly describes how people are being, some people, not everyone, but some people are being convinced that, and you'll see that this is one of the things that communism and any of these systems that are basically based on evil, their method of operation is to turn things upside down, turn understanding upside down, turn knowledge upside down, and turn evil into something good. Like, for example, pretty rainbow colors have always been something that I've always marveled at whenever there's after a big rainstorm and this huge rainbow in the sky, and scriptures say that God created that. So it's always been a beautiful thing to observe. And then you have these bad actors that come around and they steal that, and they attempt to steal it. There's some backlash going on now that I've talked about in other videos and there needs to be more of it. And I'm not seeing any of that in Mexico. In this area, I'm not seeing it. And in case you were wondering, I'm not seeing any kind of backlash that I've heard of or seen as far as any of the leadership, like in comparison to like Georgia Maloney, and there was another Baptist preacher, I forget what state he was in, calling for observance of pride of the family and pride of the Bible and pride of Jesus Christ. Good things, and not allowing things to get turned upside down for us. So as far as a backlash in that respect, that is something that should be encouraged and should be happening. And I'm not seeing that, and I can hope and pray that we'll start seeing some of that come about. Because even here in Mexico, and Mexico is a big country, I forget how many states Mexico has. I think it's around 21. I'm not sure how accurate that number is, but it's a large country. And so when I say Mexico, I don't mean to refer to every single state in Mexico, but I'm not seeing anything here locally, here in the Baja area, and I'm not seeing anything in any of the other groups, Mexico groups. I hope and pray that will change, and that this movement will take on some legs, and and pick up some momentum to exalt what's good and what's right, and punish evil. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on any of those. What do you think about all that? Did you enjoy the video? Thank you for coming to my channel today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.